Hello there guys, it's me Unstable Voltage and welcome to this special little video on Europa Universalis 4. So the new DLC for EU4 comes out in a couple of days. It is called Cradle of Civilization, and as you can probably guess from the name, it mostly affects the nations in and around Africa, Egypt, the Middle East. There are a few changes, free changes, that come as part of the usual patch that you have with these DLCs, and of course there are a number of paid features as well. Now I've only just got my key today, so I haven't had a chance to mess around with all of these features yet, but I will be starting a brand new Let's Play of this, which will probably start airing on Sunday. But I thought I'd take time just to do this little video and go through what some of the changes and additions are, because some of them are really cool things that this game has been lacking for a bit of time. So first of all, let me just go through some of the free features that you will get as part of the patch. I'm not going to go through all of the things like the game balance and the AI changes, that's a little bit pointless. But first of all, so this is regardless to whether or not you own the Cradle of Civilization DLC. They've added 80 new provinces in the regions of Anatolia, Mashriq, Egypt, Arabia, Caucasus, Khorasan, Central Asia and Persia, and redesigned the surrounding regions. So basically if you're looking at the Middle East, you can't really see when you zoomed out, but when you zoom in you'll probably notice that there are quite a few provinces that have been added and changed around these areas here. So it's going to make it a much more interesting game in and around this area of the world essentially. They've added some additional trade goods, so incense, livestock, gems, paper and glass have all been added into the game. If we can go ahead and find out where they are, I wonder if there's any nearby trade goods. So yeah, as you can see, we've got paper down here in the sort of Mamluk starting area. We've got livestock as well. We've got some gems, so you know some of these trade goods are even in those areas, but we've got them in like Italy and Europe. There's plenty of paper around, livestock in the UK. So yeah, they've added quite a bit of extra stuff with that. That is quite nice. So you'll have to forgive me because I'm basically just going down the list, and it's the only way I can do this without forgetting anything. So basically monarchs, heirs, consorts and advisors now all have a religion and a culture. So if we go in here and we have a look, we can't actually see it on this guy, or can we? Can't see it there. If we go, for example, and hire an advisor, we can see these advisors are all Sunni, and we've got one guy who's Egyptian, we've got one guy who's Syrian, two guys who are Syrian. So we can go ahead and hire an advisor. Let's not get the level 2 guy, let's get the level 1 guy, so that I can show you something else shortly. So all of our advisors, heirs and consorts and monarchs will have their own culture and religion. Most of the other stuff is pretty... I don't know why they're even mentioning this. Added a sound when winning or losing a debate in Parliament. Who cares? Added 2 new manufactories. There's the farm estate for grain, livestock and wine. They've also added mills for paper, gem, glass, tropical, wood and chinaware. So 2 new manufactories and 20 new achievements. So that's all of the free stuff that you get as part of the base patch. So let's go through the expansion features. These are the things that you will only get if you have the Cradle of Civilization DLC. So first of all, you can now select a trading policy in trade nodes where you have a merchant present. Good example of that, we just go ahead and click on any one of our trade nodes here, and you will now see we have these extra buttons on the right hand side. So the default action, which is what your traders normally do, is maximizing profit. Your merchants will tirelessly work to maximize profit in the trade node. Basically gives us an extra 5% trade power. The other options are hostile trading. Your merchant will gather intelligence from countries active in the same node. So basically your effect towards countries active in this node give you an extra 25% spy network construction. So what that basically means is if I'm trying to build a spy network on any country that has that is active within this trade node, I'll get plus 25% to the network construction. There's also the improve inland routes. Your merchants will gather knowledge of the terrain in this node, which will benefit your armies. This gives your armies an extra 10% siege ability and an extra +1 artillery bonus versus forts. You have to have a merchant there, and you have to have 50% or more trade power in order for that to work. Establish communities. Your merchant will strive to improve relations with other countries active in the node. So basically that will give you 15% improved relations with other nations that share that node. And then you've got propagate religion. Again, this is one of the things where you have to have 50% or more trade power, but your pious merchants will work towards spreading the one true faith in this node. So 8 provinces can be converted. So you can even try and spread your religion to other civilizations within that node if you have more than 50% trade power. So that's one of the first paid features that is active. There's a couple of things here that are mentioned and listed that don't really mean anything, like the names of centres of reformation now being localised based upon some text file, which nobody cares about. It is now possible to send missionaries to your subjects' provinces, converting provinces to their religion. Now, I don't think we have any subjects here playing as the Mamluks. We're guaranteeing the independence. Oh no, we do have a couple of vassals of our own. They're probably all the right religion, but if they were not, we could go ahead and send a missionary to them. So you can send missionaries to your subjects' provinces now, instead of having to wait for your subjects to do it themselves. And the bonuses granted, or the bonuses gained from converting a province, go to the owner of the missionary, not the owner of the province. So if you're playing something, for example, let's say you are playing as Reformed, and you get, not Reformed, Protestant. If you're playing as Protestant and you get the church power from converting provinces, you will get them even if you're converting provinces belonging to your vassals. So that's quite a nice thing there. Unit view, conform to template. Now this is something I quite like. If we go ahead and select a unit, you'll notice that quite a lot of things have changed here. You'll notice that it's been redesigned quite a bit with these extra little things here called army drill. We'll talk about that in a moment. There's also a little bit of a redesign of the buttons. But the important one it's talking about is this one up here in the top right, conform to template. So first of all, you need to create an army template in the production interface lands unit tab. Now, previously, you could only create an army template if you had the Art of War DLC, but you will now be able to create templates if you own the Cradle of Civilization DLC as well. But basically, pressing this button, select an army to conform this army to that template. Regiments not matching the template will be detached into a new army, and the missing regiments will be built, moved, and merged with this army. Now, it's still not a great solution because sometimes you end up with your templates getting messed up because you've sort of consolidated and split and merged armies, and you do possibly have enough units around to make all of the templates up. But this isn't really going to help with that. But what it will do is it'll take an army, and if that army doesn't match a template and you select the template, it'll split off any surplus troops and put them in a separate army, and it will train up and merge the new troops required to make it into that template. So that is actually quite a nice feature. I do like that, and it is something that I'm glad they have added in. It also works on navies as well. So you can conform navies to a template, so that is a really good thing. The Mamluk government will be able to select their new ruler from several accepted cultures. The Mamluk government rulers now get their claim based on the percentage of their culture in state cores. This is probably something that we'll get to in my playthrough, because I'm going to play through as the Mamluks. You can now exploit the development of your provinces for short-term bonuses. So what you can do is, if you go to a province now, as well as being able to click on the buttons to increase development, you also have these buttons to reduce development. And if you reduce development, you can get an instant boost. So if you're really desperate for cash, I could go and reduce the base tax in Cairo here for an instant gain of 54 ducats. Now I've reduced my base tax, so I'm actually not developing. What's the opposite to developing? But I'm removing the development from my province here to gain some extra tax. If we was to remove development for production, we would gain additional sailors. Obviously, we can't do that here because it's not a coastal province. And we can remove development for, or exploit the development on our military, which would give us a bit of a base in a bit of a gain in manpower. So you're doing long-term damage to your provinces, but you get a quick gain, which is a nice, useful little thing. Muslim countries can now benefit from their mysticism and legalism and progress back towards the middle. Now, I haven't really played as Muslim countries before, so I'm not too sure which of these things are new and which are not. But if we go into religion, you can see we've got the current piety. We can head towards legalism. That gives us 20% national tax modifier, 20% manpower modifier, and reduces our technology cost by 10%. And we can also move towards mysticism, which gives us more missionary strength, more morale of armies, and more fort defense. If we get far enough along to either end, if we get to 75 legalism, we basically reduce our corruption by 2. And if we get to 75 mysticism, we gain an extra 7,254 manpower, which is about, what, a quarter of our base manpower. So that is a pretty cool feature there. I've also noticed that we have this ability to invite a scholar and get a unique bonus for 20 years. We can invite a scholar from a different nation. I'm not too sure whether that's something that's added in this. It's not listed on the patch notes, so it may well have been something from before that I just never noticed, but that is in there all the same. Let's continue down the list. You can now slacken recruitment standards to give your army some professionalism, to give up some of your army professionalism for manpower. So what that basically means is this is the main thing that they've added, in my opinion. This is army professionalism. This is the main thing that I want to talk about. And oddly enough, most of this isn't actually mentioned in the patch notes, which is ridiculous. So let's go and have a look at an army. So what you'll notice here is we've got this thing at the top that says army drill. And that's next to our morale. And we've got it next to each individual unit. We've also got this button down here at the bottom that says enable drilling. You cannot drill an army without a leader, so basically you need to have a general or somebody attached to that army to do the drilling. When drilling, an army gets low morale and requires full maintenance costs. Non-mercenary regiments gain army drill and contribute to our army professionalism while drilling. Based on its current share of our force limit, drilling this army gives yearly army professionalism, and in this case, plus 0.2%. There's also this button here that says build supply depot. You need 20% army professionalism to build supply depots, and building a supply depot, in this case in Cairo, would cost us 20 military power and give the following effects for all friendly armies in the Bahari area. Counts as own territory when determining reinforcements, and supply limit modifier plus 50%. So basically, if you build a supply depot in a province, then all of the provinces in that region benefit from it. Now that benefit is lost. It does say somewhere here, can now build supply depots in provinces owned or controlled by one or more of your war allies. So it doesn't even have to be built in your own province. You can build it in any province controlled by yourself or your war allies. It will increase the supply limit for friendly armies in the area. The depot will be removed if the province is occupied or taken by an enemy or after a period of 2 years. So they only last for a couple of years or until the province is recaptured by the enemy. But essentially it allows you to increase the supply limit by 50% in all of the provinces within that region. And those provinces also count as friendly when you are reinforcing your army. So when your armies are recovering from losses and damage, it counts as being in friendly territory. So that is a really nice thing. So what is this army professionalism and where do we find it? Well, if we go ahead and look in the military screen, we can see this thing along the top here. We've got army professionalism, immediate gain, recruit general plus 1%, and recruit mercenaries minus 0.15. So there was a thing that I saw. There we go. Army professionalism is how dependent your country is on mercenary or professional armies. It increases by drilling units or recruiting generals, but decreases if you recruit mercenaries. So every time we recruit mercenaries, this professionalism is going to go down. Every time we recruit a new general or do some army drilling, our professionalism goes up. So it's a little bit like drilling in Hearts of Iron. where instead of it giving XP to a unit or a division, it's actually giving us this professionalism. And as you can see, there are a number of these different icons along the top, and these are the different milestones and the different bonuses that you get with the professionalism. And these, in my opinion, are some of the most important things. So the first one, salaried soldiers. Required army professionalism 20%, may build supply depots. So we just talked about supply depots. For 40%, we get regimental mustering, may refill garrison. Not 100% sure exactly what that means. I guess we will find out, but it sounds like in some way it gives you additional manpower. Conscription army, regain manpower when disbanding at 60%. Oh, how long we have waited for this. So if you get your army professionalism up to 60% or higher, when you disband an army, you will get manpower back. Now, it doesn't say whether you get the full amount back or just some of it, but it's absolutely fantastic that we now have a way to reclaim some manpower when we disband an army. We've got permanent army, so our generals basically are 50% cheaper when we hire them. And then for having a 100% professional army, we get reduced morale damage taken by our reserves, plus 50%, and army drill gain modifier, plus 100%. So basically you want to try and rely on having your own armies rather than mercenaries. And this is obviously a change that's come about because some countries that had a lot of money could just run with entire mercenary armies, and often there was no downside to doing it. In fact, mercenary armies are actually quite good. They don't use your manpower, so as long as you don't run out of money, those mercenary armies are always going to keep building back up to full strength. And also you don't get war exhaustion when mercenary armies are killed, only when your own soldiers are killed. So that is a nice little feature there. And one thing that I do believe I mentioned a little bit earlier on was slacken recruiting standards, which is this button down here. So what you can basically do is you can sacrifice 5 of your army professionalism points for an instant boost in manpower. And again, it looks like it's about 1/4 of our sort of 1/4 of our maximum manpower pool there. So these are most of the things that they added. I'm trying to think if there was anything else that I spotted as I was generally just sort of flicking through the pages and having a look to see if there was anything new, and I can't specifically think of anything else. No doubt I will stumble upon the occasional new button. Now, here's another thing. This is something again that was not mentioned in the notes. If you actually have an advisor now, you can actually spend money and promote them. So we've got this advisor here. He's costing us 1 gold a month to hire, and he's a level 1 guy. I can instantly spend 60 gold and increase his skill. Now, his monthly pay does increase for that, but you basically have the ability now to promote your advisors up to a higher level. Obviously, we don't have enough money to get the next one, but it's a really good way when you don't have, well, maybe you've got a really good level 1 advisor, and he's the guy you want, but you don't have a level 3 version. If you've got the money, you can just promote them up. So that is a nice new thing that they've added. Well, I certainly think that that has covered the majority of the main features that have been added in Cradle of Civilization. And if you are interested in watching my playthrough, I pretty much think I'm going to have a go as the Mamluks. I'm not too sure how well that's going to work, being so close to the Ottomans, but never played as the Mamluks before, but I will certainly give it a go. Maybe see if we can form Egypt or... what's the option? Is it Egypt and Arabia? Yeah, Egypt or Arabia. So we'll see if we can do one of those. But do feel free to come along and watch, and if there was any features that have been added that I've missed, hopefully we will find them in that playthrough. So thanks a lot for watching this video, guys. Hope you have found it useful. I'll see you next time, and until then, goodbye for now.